And we are live. I'm here, but today we have like a special Logic Apps Live. We're going to be working and talking for the next hour with some MVPs. So we are live from Redmond campus and running this with. I thought that was the best way to celebrate MVP Summit was to bring some MVPs and give a little bit of their experience about community and some of the other technical things that we have today. So before I go, the topics that we have for today, that's going to be impact of technical community on the personal growth and career, and impact of AI of integration, because like everyone is talking about this today. I would like to each one of you for you to introduce. So let's start with you, Cameron.
Okay, hey everybody. So my name is McKay. I'm a first-time MVP, first time here at the summit. Super exciting. Really excited to be here with these other MVPs, sharing some information with you all, answer some questions. So I'm from Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Really excited to represent Canada here in this panel.
Right.
Mick?
I'm Mick Badran from Sydney, Australia, and like Cameron mentioned, it's a real honour to be here, and certainly amongst the other MVPs. It's always a great week here. It's a mad week of just constant bombardment of new information, and I'm a MVP of over 20 years, and even that sounds scary when I say it, but it's a real honour to be just around these guys that are, Cameron new and Sebastian, he's new as well, and I learn as much, if not more, from them as they might do from me.
Cool. So my name is Mattias Lögdberg. I'm from Sweden, and I guess I'm the teenager in this crowd then. Look at that. So I'm like 7 years in the MVP program. So that's good. So I'm honored to be here from Sweden, from Europe, and having a blast at MVP Summit as always. We have a lot of things coming up, which is going to be really cool. And looking forward to today's talk.
Thanks. Sebastian.
Yeah, hello guys. My name is Sebastian, and as Mick and Cameron said, first time MVP, first time summit. Very overwhelming, all the impressions here, but very honored to be in this round here as well. And thanks for having me here.
No, that's great. So let's kick off with a very interesting question here. So what is the role that networking like this, right, or in the technical community in general, played in your career development and your opportunities, right? Let's start with the new MVPs, right, and then go all the way back to the old MVPs. Cameron, let's start with you.
Yeah, for sure. So networking is huge, massive in terms of my career, my development in this profession overall. Going to different conferences, speaking at them, meeting people of different experience levels, using different technologies. I find it really gives you that different perspective. You can't just come at things from one view, one lens. So talking to someone who had 25 years in Exchange server, Windows server, doing legacy stuff. So kind of getting that lens of hybrid, Azure local. It's not something we generally think about when we're talking about serverless, Azure Logic Apps. So kind of getting that lens, it's helped me a lot, kind of gain that wider perspective, which is really valuable.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Do you want to add to that, Sebastian?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm fully agree with Cameron, what's networking and so on. And every time when you talk to other people, you learn something from them because they tried something different and you tried something different. And then it's a good match to bring that together. And for me, or for myself, I learned a lot from the community, from the BizTalk community itself. So it saves my life a lot in some situations, and I'm very grateful that the community is there. And and that's the reason I'm in the community as well, to help others with same problems or with problems to solve them.
Mm-hmm. Mattias.
Yeah. So I've always been driven to experience. To learn new things. That's always been my thing. But the thing that's grown me the most is always sharing that knowledge. So inspire other people, or sharing, or educating, and asking questions, or stand on stage sharing something that you've been doing, and then you get questions afterwards and you can talk to other people. That's always been my game, going back all all the way to elementary school. It's always been the thing that has helped me improve most in knowledge base.
Yeah, I found that actually showing what you think you learned to someone else is when the knowledge actually solidifies. Because if you don't able to explain that to someone else in a way that they understood, maybe you didn't understand it really. You just are able to repeat steps instead of having a knowledge of that. What is the perspective on that, Mick?
Oh, look, I agree too. I think having also been a Microsoft trainer for 25 years, I spent a lot of time in classrooms and teaching people. So as you say, one half of it is you learning it. The other half is solidifying and cementing it that you're teaching people. And often you might look at the instructor imparting their knowledge to the students, let's say, but really the most rewarding part of all of that is when somebody, a student in this case, surpasses what they thought was possible themselves. And that is truly incredible. So, in terms of networking and other people and things, it's always, for me, it's of paramount importance. We learn that when we're in family, families growing up, that if you're trying to solve something yourself and go it alone, you're only going to get really your thoughts and your ideas. Whereas if you've got a group of people around you, and what I've learned over time is that I surround myself with better people than me. And the reason is that hopefully I can inspire them and they push me to go that extra mile, but also they strive for excellence as well. And in terms of, a knowledge-rich environment, which is what, the MVP sort of community is, things can always be learnt, but an attitude can't. So I always strive to connect with the right attitudes, and then we can all go on a learning journey together.
That's super interesting. Rewind. So we were talking about like specific instances when the technical community helped and like help to shape your career or shape your professional growth. So maybe let's rewind to your example, Mattias.
Yeah, sure.
I can go from there.
Yeah. So back in the days, I was really in love with LogicapPs and API management. I really loved the services. I was really good technical on them, and I experimented a lot, did a lot of crazy stuff. And Microsoft in Sweden, they kind of picked that up. And also my mentor and a lot of other people who liked cloud services, they kind of picked that up and kind of forced me to start talking. They were into like, we need to get this information out. And I really hated it because I was really, really bad at presenting. I was always blacking out and I forgot what I was supposed to say. And I think I ended up like having 20 slides just to get past the 5 first minutes without panicking. But in the end, I learned from it and I grew from it. And if you look at it today, one of my top skills is just going out and doing a presentation in front of a crowd. That is one of the best things I know. And it's also really super important in sales meetings or when you help like a colleague or anything else. It's super interesting. I use a whiteboard. I don't know how many times a day I use it. Every time I draw on it. So, and that's one of the things I do on presentations. I made it my signum as well, I think.
Yeah, and it's usually one of the most interesting presentations because you building the knowledge with the rest of the audience by going super old school, right? Remove all the fancy things, demos and stuff. Let's go back to basics and go to a whiteboard. Yeah. So it's peak teaching experience.
It's really fun doing it.
Mick, anything that jumps to mind?
Oh, look, there's been many examples, and I think what makes the community so valuable and what makes these exchanges so valuable is that you get out of it what you put into it. So if you give a lot, then chances are you're going to get substantial nuggets back out. And that's what makes it valuable, that you're appreciating the time, you're appreciating the interaction with someone else, where it's past business, it's past close of business, it's into the evening, and they're sort of saying, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? So, it's not something they're paid to do, and it's not something that's expected. It's just this organic, natural connection that's going. And there's lots of examples, but one particular one that jumps out was we always love to use early technologies. previously, and when Service Bus Relay was in its very first forms, and we're trying to figure out how to use it, and no, you can't do it this way, and it's all advised not to. There was someone that I connected to in the local Microsoft sub that said, have you tried this? And I said, well, yeah, maybe, and would it be able to hold the traffic? And there's a whole raft of sort of gates that we had to get through. In the end, that got me a worldwide award for the partner I was involved with at the time, and got me to go and say hi to Satya over in Toronto. So, you just don't know where these things go to and grow. But certainly I wouldn't have been able to do it without the community there.
That's awesome. Anything from you, Cameron?
Yes, I mean, from my perspective, like I was very fortunate when I started out 12 years ago that I had a mentor who was an MVP for SharePoint. And so I was a young .NET developer, and they kind of taught me a lot and kind of put that idea of, solution architect, MVP into my head. And then, fast forward 9 years, I was also very fortunate. Someone, Darcy Lucier, who runs Prairie Developer Conference in the Prairies in Canada, ran them in, 3 different provinces. And I was able to, work with him, speak at his conferences, get comfortable speaking at conferences through them and through his mentorship. So, the community, it's huge in those areas to get me to where I am today.
That's awesome. One of the things that that is part of our job, right, is having to learn every day, because it's super rewarding, but at the same time, sometimes a thankless job that technology changes at almost sometimes every other quarter, right? So how did the technical community help you guys stay up to date, like or learn the latest trends, understand where the technology is going? Started back with you, Sebastian.
That's okay. So when you watch some videos or something else, then you will find something new, and it sounds interesting for me. Then I will deep dive into this technology area, so I learn a lot. And that's why I go into new technologies, and then I do it for myself. So I guess this is very important. Do it for yourself. Try it out, and when you are stuck, then ask for help in the community, for example. So this is the best way to learn new technologies, especially now. AI is a super fast growing area, and there's very important to have people you can ask for help.
Let's mix a little bit, because I'm always going like right. So, Mick, how about you?
Look, quickly, I guess I really noticed it during COVID, when we couldn't have these interactions. And I guess my thing is really being able to be in the same room as someone and feed off energy together and look them in the eyes and, see a smile or whatever it might be. But during COVID, I didn't get any of that. And so it was very much, what should I be doing? Should I be learning this? How do I push myself to go into new technologies? And it just felt like, even though we're in this, amazing digital world, it still felt like I was isolated very much in concept and ideas. And I'd talk to the occasional sort of other person at a particular level online and things, but how do you know if you're learning the right thing? How do you know what's new? But, since then, it's just been amazing. So, being able to sort of talk to people, and it's not, and I've sort of come to learn, it's not about necessarily learning absolutely every new technical piece. It's about having a very good understanding. If it's your thing, go and pursue it like crazy, but also be around a bunch of people that, you can build up a certain level of base knowledge and go, well, here's how the ship's going to fly. And you go and learn the cockpit, or you go and learn the rocket engine, or I might pick the thrusters or something. So, that is what I really love, the fact of being able to work, talk to others, and they're experts in their own field, and together we go and make something great together.
Mm-hmm. there is so much a time that you can use in it, like usually 24 hours, right?
my list is so long of the things that I want to do this,
Exactly.
I want to do that.
So being able to like streamline that with people that that is already going deep dive makes a huge difference. What are your thoughts about that, Mattias?
So yeah, I'm a little bit the same, but I actually use the community a little bit also to challenge myself to learn new things.
Mm-hmm.
So as a user, I'm not presenting that much on user groups anymore, but I did before. I did a lot on user groups, and you have your working hours, you have your family, you have everything. So it's hard to find the time to learn new technology sometimes. So during that period, I challenged myself, and every month I took a new topic, something I wanted to learn, something I wanted to have knowledge about. I took that and submitted a session to a user group, because then I knew that I had to learn it until that day, and I needed to understand it as good as I could talk about it, and also do reflection with everyone else. So I must say, from me, I used the community to force myself into learning more things.
That's interesting. Interesting way. You're creating a driving force for you to learn, because you can always, like, sometimes you're so tired that you end up thinking that binging streaming that's better than anything else because I'm too tired. But having that commitment makes you deadline driven is always the way to
and having a nice bar. Having a nice bar.
Night before guy.
So I used to I do that too, but it gave me a reminder this week, just being on Redmond. I was walking around and I saw some reference to like Windows Mobile or something. And I had this like vision of like, man, I remember I did that session on like Azure mobile services, and they're like thinking about how I could use this technology. And I did it as a forcing function because I was genuinely interested in it. But it definitely forces you to stretch, which I think is the important thing. You need a forcing function sometimes to force the growth. Yeah. But then it's also like, now where's that technology? So, but it was fun learning it. So.
Anything from you, Cameron?
I guess one thing I would add is just passion is infectious. So community members who are doing presentations or doing videos, like if I'm watching a video and I can feel that excitement, that passion from the person, gets me really excited about that technology and want to learn more about it and explore more videos, read more articles. So I try to impart that in my presentations to community members, and also I try to find people online or who I'm working with in the community that have that same kind of passion and excitement.
That's great. And I'll continue with you, Cameron, on that one. What the advice that you give to someone that is looking to get more involved in technical community, right? So either to advance the careers, to increase their personal brand, or because they wanted to use that environment to learn more.
Yeah, I mean, this session itself is a good start. Participate in different events that are going on. If you see things happening locally, those are great places. Ultimately, networking is huge, but probably the number one thing you can do is find a mentor, someone who's already doing it really well, and emulate that person, talk to that person, get their insights, and they can help lift you up and give you what you're looking for.
Yeah, that I agree. And being an user group manager for some time before the join Microsoft, you think that they have everything sorted out, that they have like speakers for 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance. I'm pretty sure that every user group is starving for content.
Oh yeah,
right. The user groups don't need an hour-long session. If you say, I can talk about something, but I can talk for 15 minutes, they're going to take it. Take those opportunities to, like, people that maybe there is a small user group, to start growing that muscle, as Mattias was talking about, and going from there. You don't need to write an article about the deepest thing on the technology. Maybe write a journal about your learnings. You have no idea how useful that is for other people.
And also I want to add to that, because This came up when we talked about this in the MVP community actually during COVID, because a lot of people were, speakers. They weren't writing that many blogs or doing vlogs or stuff like that. But always remember that even if there is content around it out there, someone is going to like the way you're doing it, or you will add a flavor to it, or you will expand the context a little bit more, or something like that gives inspiration or knowledge to others.
And I would just add too, sometimes I think people feel the pressure that they have to go like super deep on a subject in order to contribute, and that's not the case. Like I think we see it all the time. There's people that are joining in their Logic Apps journey at different points of their career. And what may be perceived as very simple to someone that's been doing it for years, there's always someone that's new.
Yeah.
And I think people shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm not ready to contribute. There's a saying from Gary Vaynerchuk that I love. It's called document, don't create. So it's more like you don't always have to think about, coming up with the topic. It's more about what are you doing day to day, and what are the experiences that you can share with someone else that may not have started that journey yet.
Yeah.
So I would also encourage people to don't feel the pressure that you have to do 300 or 400 level topics before you can contribute.
Yeah.
Just like share your journey. And I love what you said, Mattias, where it's more of like, put your own spin on it. I think sometimes you're like, oh, I wrote about that subject first. Like, it doesn't matter. It's more of like, you're doing it because you should feel like you're getting something out of it. And if that makes you feel good, then go do it. And I guarantee by you doing it, you're going to help someone else down the road as well.
And I think just to add to that as well, someone starting their journey or new into this space, I would say, do what you love and love what you do. And it's a cliched saying, but, all of us in this room, I can guarantee you, when we were at the beginning of our journey, we would not know that we would end up here. And so you might look at what's around you and say, I need to present, I need to get up on stage, I can't do that, or there's a whole raft of things in your head that you can't do. Just follow what you love, and as Ken's saying, maybe it's not presenting, maybe it's doing a whole range of other things. Hey, look, I'm playing around with this. This is what I built. I might just want to just show someone, or I might want to record a little video of what it does. And that's, you're on your way, share it with someone and see what happens. But it's all about, sharing and sort of sharing your experience.
I might have to do this because in 6 months' time, I needed to remember how I did it.
That's also good. That's my excuse.
The name of my blog when I was writing was Note to Self on purpose, because everything that was there was for me. Then if it is useful for other people, that's a plus. And then we find out that it's actually useful for other people.
Two more things I want to add. Don't be scared to share knowledge, because it's not something everybody can learn it in another way. So don't be afraid. And the other one, step by step. As you said, just do it, just try, because you're not climbing that mountain in one day. You're climbing it step by step.
Exactly.
I just wanted to add here something. Just start doing something. Go to a local user group to start. For example, share your knowledge, share your experience. As Ken said, or as you said, guys, you do not have to be on the 400 level to start your journey. So I guess a good starting point is share experience on a specific technology, and then you will grow on this.
Maybe one thing I'll add is just, I found the technology community overall is very inviting and very much here to help people and lift them up. So even if you are starting step by step, people will go and like your posts. They'll provide you with feedback, and it's all to help you improve and get better. And you'll find a lot of support in the community itself.
And on that note, like if you're looking for mentors, right, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Like if you find someone on your area and just have a chat.
Don't be shy.
You're not signing anything for life. You're having a chat with them. Right?
And I wanted to say that's a really good point too, Wagner, because I engage in mentoring university students, and in the sense of, if you're out there and you sort of, it's great to pair up with a mentor. Your journey will accelerate. They'll just point you in the right direction, not necessarily dictate what you do. But the other person who you approach, they mightn't be a mentor, and chances are they aren't. But what it gives them the opportunity is a really unique and special moment to give back in a place where they never really thought of, in their day-to-day. So you're coming along and saying, can I, would you like to be my mentor? I'm looking for someone. And it's actually, as equally rewarding for them, and it gives them more depth than, as like your side as well to you. So you're never inconveniencing them. And the only thing they can say to you is no. So don't be afraid to ask.
One thing that my wife always says is like, the no I already have. Anything from there?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. That's really good. So let's move to the next topic. Do you want to drive that one, Ken?
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure. Yeah. So
Come close. So
You need to see you on camera, Ken.
Oh,
okay.
He's dual screens.
Oh, okay. Just make sure your laptop's got enough.
Technically,
Yeah.
I'm
He
going
doesn't
to
need
move
to
to
plug
the
his
side, so
laptop
I appear at least in one of the shots.
So let's talk about sort of the topic of the year, millennium, whatever you want. And of course, let's begin our. Just definitely curious around this intersection of AI and integration. And so we probably won't get through everyone, so I'll pick and choose as we sort of move through these questions. But maybe we'll start with you, Mick. How do you see AI transforming the landscape of enterprise integration in the sort of near future?
Yeah, good question. I think I mean, obviously there's a lot of, it's a sugar hit that we've all had, and we're kind of either at the peak or on the way down. I think for me, it's a tool. It's as I've mentioned, we've spoken about this before, but I see it being a calculator with more functions on it. So, you've got your addition, subtraction, whatever. Now you've got a whole range of other functions. And I think in the world of integration, having done it for over 20 odd years, the why is still the same. So the need for it is still, if not more these days, that we need to connect better and faster and so on. The how has changed a fair bit over time. And what I personally would love to see with sort of AI is I give it my requirements and it goes away and does it. Now, I think we're a little bit away from that, but I see it being an accelerator that will give me best practice. It'll give me guidance. It'll maybe make some of those pattern decisions of a splitter pattern or an aggregator pattern or whatever it might be. I see it being a helper in the corner at the moment that I can give it some high level instructions, and it can take me a little bit deeper. For me personally, I don't see it being I've got an idea, let's connect Power Apps with some other third-party service that goes and does ticketing or whatever it might be. I don't see it being, here's the solution just yet.
No, I like the calculator analogy. I kind of look at it the same way. I think it gives us the opportunity to sort of expand our current capability set.
Yeah.
And I don't have concerns around the immediate, like, magic happens here. Right? So I think it's one of those things I would encourage them to learn it, understand it, where the opportunities are, and think of it as more of like, what are some of the challenges of the past in integration, and how does AI help solve those? Especially in the areas where there's manual work. I kind of think that's a little bit
exactly. And you just sort of reminded me that it's a really good spotlight for out of your day-to-day or out of your process. What admin type work are you doing? What are you doing that takes a bit of time? So in the world of integration, we might be collecting sample messages, putting them into a folder over here, creating a schema over there, looking at the desired output, doing some sort of, that field goes to there. Like, it's all just manual. There's no genius there. It's just, you've got to do it. And oh my goodness, there's 500 of them. That I see being an amazing opportunity to get it done in 5 minutes for me. I don't want to that's not where I'm going to add value. I'm adding value in taking that output and moving it into CRM or something like that, Dynamics.
So Mattias, let's shift gears a little bit here. So you spend a fair amount of time focused on security and networking and things of that nature. So what are some of the biggest challenges that organizations face when sort of considering AI, and what would your suggestions or strategies be to help them sort of manage some of those challenges or concerns?
Oh, for me, it's security and network. Yeah. But from AI perspective, I mean, we're tightening everything down, as you say. We're doing that quite a lot. And I think there's two things with AI, as me from my point, which I see. One is that they try to restrict AI very much. So they kind of, create a big project and try to restrict it in the beginning. So it's kind of like, you put layers of security or layers of, preventing invention, because you want to protect a lot.
Yeah, governance,
policy. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's one thing that kind of goes a little bit too big sometimes. That makes it complex to actually do something good. The other one, I think, is still, from what I see, is still getting that product that actually gives value. So they're trying too hard to find something sometimes, or they try to squeeze it in over here because that should be a case, rather than actually finding that sweet spot where it gives the real value.
Well, that's fair. I think we all there's always that risk, right, of the sort of the shiny toy syndrome or that sort of thing. I think grounding yourself in value, I think, is what we should always do, right? Yeah. Regardless of what we're doing, is what is the value to sort of the organization that we're providing this to? Like, what is it, and how sort of tangible is that? And then I think the other thing that you touched on a little bit was that, we always sort of think about AI in the context of like, what can it do? But then there's also the other lens that's like, what shouldn't it do? And I think that when people are building AI solutions, that's another important thing. Like, I want you to do this, but then I want to be very explicit about what I don't want you to do. And so people should always be sort of thinking about that as well, where that's just as important, if not more important. And that's usually where you see prompt attacks and things of that nature, because people haven't thought about the flip side of this, of like, how do I avoid it from doing bad things as well. So Cameron, let's head over your way. And I just think, like, what are some of the AI innovations that you'd like to see added in the integration space that you think that could help sort of organizations sort of move forward in this paradigm?
Yeah, well, I think right now the main skill is prompt engineering. It's basically becoming its own language. So if we were able to kind of abstract that away a little bit from the prompters and kind of make that skill easier to master, kind of what you're saying, prevent that prompt injection from happening. Like, what are those grounding rules? What should they be? I think we could innovate a lot and kind of put some guardrails on that, so that when the enterprise does add this into their integrations, it's going to be something that's very stable and very secure, and you don't have to worry too much about it. I think from a development perspective, there's a lot of things that can help us kind of shift from writing code and into more testing code, documenting code, and kind of building an overall higher quality solution as a result. Traditionally, as developers, we spend a lot of time getting solutions functional, building things, testing them, making sure they work. But then we often, forget things that deliver higher quality solutions, like the documentation and the testing that goes along with it. So I think from an enterprise perspective, those investments and seeing that from AI to kind of accelerate the actual development functionality working and give us the ability to test and make it a higher quality solution will give us some better results and
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think there was a moment of reflection for myself even this week. We showed something pretty cool one day, and then a person came up and said, "Oh, like, okay, that's awesome, but like, now if I change that, how do I test it?" And I think it's just a reminder that it's not just about the sort of the excitement of what you can do, but it's also now how do you sort of provide that balance. So I'm going to go a little off script here, but one of the biggest benefits of community is like this diverse. So here we've got some from Canada, we've got Australia, by Europe, Sweden, and we've got Germany here as well. So I am curious, Sebastian, what is the sentiment just around AI in Europe, and sort of what are some of the things people are thinking about that? Like when you do talk to customers around AI, what are some of their concerns, or what are some of the opportunities? I'd just love to get that perspective.
The most dangerous, or the concern where the people are mostly talking about is security. How get I my data safe? What happens with my data? Will, for example, Microsoft use my data to train the models and so on? So these are the questions. What's going on in especially Europe and also Germany? So because it needs to be compliant to the GDPR. So this is the regulatory in Europe against data management and so on. So this is a concern. And the other one is many customers asking us how to get the pace on the knowledge gaining with AI. So the upskilling of AI is very important, and many customers asking us how to do that, because it's evolving so fast, and the people or the developer and all the other stakeholders on the project are asking for that, how to keep pace of it. So that these are the main questions. And then and they also try to figure out in which areas AI can help them. So many are putting AI on top of all and try to solve all the problems. But the days I talked to Cameron, and I think you need a specific use case to put AI on it. So, and it needs to be AI capable. So we called it. And when it's AI capable, then you need to check what I need to do it, and also gain then the knowledge of this specific area, because otherwise, it is very hard to keep track of it.
Yeah, and I think a couple of good things there. I think with the upskilling, I think that's where community obviously plays a big role. And I think that's what's kind of awesome about getting together, whether it's a local user group or kind of an international event like this, is that the perspectives that you all bring together is pretty awesome. And that's, what I would encourage. This is why community is also important, is like diverse sort of perspectives that you can get. And I think the other thing it was a good call out as well, is just like this notion of data and what is happening with my data. And it's one of those things where, none of us like to read the terms and conditions. But it becomes pretty important, especially when there's a new service and, a new startup just emerges, and all of a sudden, like, hey, this is really cool, and everyone's jumping on board. It is important to understand what is where is your data going? There's the old saying, if you're not paying for something, you're not the customer, you're the product, right? So you do want to think about that. And even as we are exploring more and more AI capabilities in LogicApps, what comes up a fair bit is this notion of like, make AI contextually relevant for me, like as an organization or a user, but usually in the context of organizational data, because I think that's the potential for the value goes through the roof when you can provide something that's contextually relevant. Like at one customer, they may like to do things a certain way, and at your customer, they may want to do it very different. But how does AI sort of bend to sort of account for those use cases through knowledge, I think is going to be super important here moving forward. And I think the notion of where is my data, how is it being used, what are the obligations of it, eyes wide open, like when you do go into that. And, definitely I, work for Microsoft, and I'm proud that we sort of take this seriously, and it's, responsible AI, but it is something that people should go eyes wide open when they start to, share data. So, so
I think just to add to that, Ken, I think, to follow on machine learning was before AI. And so we had a whole team, rooms full of data engineers to shunt data from point A to point B so the models could work on it. Now, in the world of AI, what I think LogicApps' responsibility is, how can I go and test as many models as possible, as fast as possible? Because OpenAI and the other hosting and things like that democratize AI, so that I've already got a finely tuned model. And I've, in the case of large language models, they're already packed with a whole bunch of responses, and they're pretty much ready made. So what's going to separate my company from Cameron's company is the grounding data that I have on it. So being able to, but how do I know it's accurate? So given the couple of thousand odd models that are out there, how do I know whether I'm using GPT-4o, Mini, Llama, or whatever it might be? So and going back to machine learning days, one of the real advantages that companies were getting was that I can go and test my model 10 times in one day, not once in 1 week, but by improving the data practices and data handling practices that we have in our environment, so that I can load it up, run it, and do that at pace, so that the model I'm using may give me the output. So I think, yes, and that's where data then becomes the key, because it's very expensive to take a vanilla model and train it to then update the weightings and whatnot, because of the size of the training data that's needed, even in specific areas. You still need a great cross-section, and my practical experience with that is using the CLIP model, which combines images and text. And how do I get it proficient enough across? I need to give it a million images at least with corresponding text. Where am I going to do that? And that's going to cost me a lot just to get a model that I think might be more advantageous than what's out there. Yeah. But it's really the data that I'm using to drive it is, my uniqueness, really.
Yeah, your IP.
Yeah.
And I think obviously that's where customers have to find that balance of like, can I use general purpose or do I need something more specific?
And you don't know at the beginning of your journey.
Yeah. So there's an element of experimentation, which is the key to a lot of this, right? And that's where sometimes it's difficult if the value realization piece is a little bit uncertain, and how do you kind of go forth and do? But I think, you nailed it in the sense of data, and you think about what integration folks do, that's the world we live in. And I think people shouldn't see this as like something that is going to compete with you necessarily.
Exactly.
I think use it as a tool, as Mick had said before, to sort of enrich your use cases and drive more value for your customers. So people should absolutely be sort of exploring this. I know sometimes it's a little overwhelming. There's a new model every week, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of new players in the market, and it is changing quickly. But that's, where I think you follow some folks like that you're interested on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever, and then you try to sort of digest that in bite-sized bits, and sort of over time it does accrue. I think that's the thing you take for granted, is even that 10 minutes a day over a month, over a year actually leads to something fairly substantial as well. So maybe let's close on this question. And once again, respect the NDA, but what are some of the, I'll open this up to, I guess, the rest of you, but like, what are the types of AI innovations that you'd like to see added to LogicApps, just to unlock, some of these opportunities we've chatted about?
I have an idea. So we saw a lot of MCP stuff, so the Model Context Protocol, and it would be very nice to have LogicApp served as an MCP server, for example, and you can put in some stuff. So maybe you have a Salesforce MCP and you have your SAP MCP, and then you can stick it together with an LLM. So, and then you are able to integrate such systems. So there are many more. Only an example here, but I think this will helps a lot. And on top of this, an MCP registration will be very cool. So every customer can pick an MCP from this registry, and do not to start from scratch every time. So, and this is the standard functionality then, but it can be customizable then in this ways. But I think this can be an accelerator to bring AI capabilities to such integration scenarios.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll have some more things to share in that area in the near future. But yeah, I think just for folks that may not be familiar with MCP, it's basically you think about agents and how agents communicate with other agents or even other tools. Naturally, connectors today are in our context kind of a tool, and so how do we sort of unify some of those communication models? So folks, do look up MCP. Anthropic has a lot of good information. Microsoft, other parts of the company have sort of announced some recent things publicly. So go ahead and do a search on that. But yeah, no, it's interesting. We'll we'll stay tuned.
Kind of on the same vein, some kind of data mapper agent would be really nice. So you get an LLM that does like the first pass of both of your schemas and does the mapping for you. And then you could do approve or reject or remap things based on whatever the agent has done. And maybe you could retrain the agent to do mappings for you. So if you're doing a lot of SAP integrations, it would kind of know what you're working with or other systems.
Yeah, no, great use case. I think it's been something that's been on our radars for a little while, and it is definitely something aspirationally we'd love to tackle. Just nothing to share just yet on that, but amazing use case. I think, we like to think of AI in sort of three buckets, like developer productivity, and I'd say that's firmly in that camp. And how do we allow developers to, reduce their time to value, time to market? And let's be honest, complex maps can be tedious and take a long time. And how do you sort of improve the productivity and reliability? It's a sort of a win-win. And then obviously there's, what can you do with AI to sort of unlock new use cases, right? Whether it's more agentic type stuff or using, different models to help you sort of summarize content or make predictions. And then there's the operational side of things as well. And so those are kind of the three buckets and how we look at things. And we're pretty excited, and hopefully we'll have some exciting business in the future. So any other thoughts, Mick or Mattias?
Oh, look, I think, just in general, we're looking where can we add AI into our day-to-day and into our tools. I think if we fast forward a year, I'd see, I'd suspect that all the visual toolbox and things that we have in our developer environment, we drag and drop a text box down. That would have some kind of intelligence behind it, where we've got properties of, today we can make it read only, we can make it invisible, visible. There's going to be some sort of LLM connection element to it that, this is a diagnosis box. And so therefore this box is going to go away and sort of be connected somehow with the LLM in the background. So I just think it's going to be baked in everywhere, just as this extra calculator. It's not necessarily, my goodness, intelligence from another planet. I think it's just going to really help all this admin-y type mundane stuff, entering in forms. And, how long do we spend on addresses these days and dates? Dates keep us in a job. Over the years, I haven't seen a date that's the same. And so imagine if you're typing in an address and you've got some better back-end intelligence or back-end service that goes, hey, I don't understand this. Did you mean this? And suddenly it's like, yeah, pop that in for me. I don't have to, oh, that's right, I put the postcode in the wrong way first. I need to put state first, then it'll populate the post. It's a nightmare. So in the world of LogicApps, what I'd love to see is I could just draw a picture, going back to you, on the board and say, hey, build that for me. Go away, make the Logic app and build it. That's what I'd love. So, the image recognition and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Mattias and his whiteboard.
Yeah, that's right.
The easy button.
Yeah, that's right. Clippy app, Clippy board.
But I'm with you on that because I usually call it a lazy developer.
Yeah,
so I like to have things, coming my way without, doing all the stuff on it.
Absolutely.
So I really love things that can automate or that you can just get things in a descriptive way to get things done for you. But I also think that the other angle of LogicApps is being a provider in that, because we have what's in all of this is, so one thing is developer productivity, one is for us as developing LogicApps. That's one thing. But on the other hand, I also see possibilities. The data in the end is what we need in our AI. So in that sentence as well, like how can we reuse everything we're building today in something, and how can we make that into those AI stuff that's coming along? Because the company-specific AIs will be coming in the end. They will need stuff like that to gain real value. So I see two angles from us from our point of view, being both getting that stuff from AI. As I said, lazy developer, really want that stuff helping me. And on the other hand, also be able to help others by providing data.
Yeah, and I would look for some announcements around build. We've been working with some other teams as sort of extensibility points, which I think is kind of what you're getting at. And I think, some exciting announcements around build. So folks.
Well, I think just to round off too, Kent, with community and things, something to throw back at you. We all know that AI is as good as the data that you give it or what it's been trained on. And certainly in the world of logic apps and community, some sort of, I imagine some sort of overlay of AI would be in our sphere in down the track. And it'd be great for it to say, going back to that draw a picture, say, I want to do a logic app to, some sort of conversational type piece, but then the data set or the knowledge base that it draws upon is generated by the community. So how can we contribute back to you or back to this space to say, here's our templated logic app, here's our descriptor that kind of defines the context of it, and where can that be held that we can all contribute to, that then AI can draw upon?
So be careful what you ask for.
No, I'm just saying.
Now you got homework.
I know, right?
So
Bugger.
Yeah, so
I have the answer for
yeah, next month we're gonna have an update from Mick. No, so in all seriousness, there is a strong linkage between templates and we talked about all this sort of knowledge and context, right? So in today you can contribute to our templates library. We have a GitHub repo, and customers, partners, MVPs, community can make contributions, and we'll basically do the PR merge on our side and get those templates into the gallery. And then if you think about it in the future, I think there's a lot of interesting opportunities about sharing. So we will make sure in an upcoming Logic Apps Live we talk more about templates and how people can contribute. But I think that's kind of the most immediate action that people can start to do to contribute. And then over time, I feel like there's going to be more and more of those opportunities.
Yeah.
And
Fair
on
enough.
that note, like the template is the outcome of some guidance usually, right? So you have a use case in mind that you wanted to describe, and you wanted people to get to that really quick. The other thing that we already have, the other initiative that we already have running, is the Logic Apps Aviators community playbook, where if you have any kind of guidance, so you have a really cool use case that I'm using Logic Apps on or using AIS for, you're able to write a post, and we're picking up those posts and actually reviewing and putting it directly on MS Learn on the community area, right? Because this is guarantees that is like is accessible to everyone in a single place.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Ciao.
So with that one, I think that's the other place that you guys can do, like not just you guys, but like the community in general can start to do like a really good improvement on the general knowledge base for Logic Apps. So I'll share the link offline on the comments. But if you're interested, search for Logic Apps Aviators community playbook, and you find out how to contribute.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Right. Thank you much, you all, for that. Taking some time. That's like MVP Summit. A week is super week. So having you here for a whole hour, it's been a privilege. And thank you for joining us. Expecting you all to join in later on with your all use cases, so you can present the Logic Apps Live again.
Brilliant.
Sounds
Brilliant.
good. Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, James.
Cheers.
See you, everyone. That's us for today.